Hello everyone, I'm Anastasia. I welcome you all to this new session of Fundamental of Nursing. So in today's session, we are going to deal with a new topic, which is rest and sleep. This rest and sleep is an important component of well-being. Each and every individual requires a certain period of rest, of sleep, of calmness, and also of lesser activity so that their body can regain the required energy as well as rebuild the stamina. However, this period of rest and sleep will vary depending on the age, developmental level, health status, activity level, as well as the cultural norms. So here, as we all know that this rest and sleep are the fundamental component of well-being, it is very clear that each and every individual requires a certain period whereby they can rest or they can sleep peacefully, and a period where lesser activity needs to be performed so that the body will be getting a period in order to regain their energy as well as rebuild their stamina. However, this amount of rest and sleep which is required by each and every individual may vary depending on their age, on their developmental level, on their health status, the activity level, as well as the cultural norms. So this is the reason why each and every individual require a period of rest and sleep. Now let's move on to the definition of sleep. So here, sleep is defined as a state of altered level of consciousness and relative inactivity, as well as decrease in perception to the environment. So here, as we know that whenever we are sleeping, our consciousness level will be altered. There will be a relative inactivity as well as our perception to the environment will be decreased, right? During this period of sleep, each and every individual will experience minimal physical activity as well as a general slowing of the body physiological processes. This sleep generally occurs in a periodic cycle and usually lasts for several hours at a time. This sleep not only provides us rest, not only lessen our physical activity, not only alter our consciousness level, but it also acts as a restorative function whereby it becomes necessary for the physiological hearing to occur. So I hope you have got a clear understanding of what sleep means. Now let's move on to the definition of rest. Rest is defined as a state of relatively decreased bodily work, which can be either physical, mental, or even both, which will leave the individual feeling refreshed and revived. Rest refers to a state of relaxation and calmness, both in the physical as well as the mental well-being. So here, in order to feel refreshed and to feel revived, it is not necessary that we must only sleep, but even when we just take an adequate amount of rest, then it can also help us feel refreshed and revived. And it is also a state where it brings both relaxation and calmness to the physical as well as the mental well-being of an individual. That is why we nurses, when we are providing care to any patient, we must make sure that we understand what activities and environment the client define restful. Why? Because here the activities which one perform in order to relax themselves or while they are resting may differ from one person to. During this period of rest, some may prefer to listen to music, some may prefer to lie down, some may prefer to read books, as well as some may prefer to quietly walk. So here, each and every activity which the client will prefer to do while they are taking rest will differ from one person to the other. That is why it is said that nurse should try to understand what activities the client choose to perform while they are resting, or what activities and environment the client defines restful. Rest is also a condition in which the body is in a decreased state of activity without any physical and emotional stress, as well as freedom from anxiety. So this is the reason why rest and sleep are said to be the fundamental component of the well-being of an individual. Now moving on to the next, that is the physiology of sleep. Here, the cyclic nature of sleep is thought to be controlled by the centers which is located in the brain and by the circadian rhythm. Here, the reticular activating system, which is located in the brainstem and the cerebral cortex, plays a very important role in the sleep and wake cycle. Another key factor to sleep is also the exposure to darkness. Here, darkness and preparation for sleep, that is when the environment in which that particular individual in is dark and when he or she is preparing himself for sleep, for example, when he or she is lying down with his eyes closed, it causes a decrease in the stimulation of the reticular activating system. So what happens here is that the pineal gland in the brain begins to secrete the natural hormone melatonin, and this will lead that particular individual to feel less alert. And this is how he will be going to sleep. However, with the beginning of the daylight, melatonin will be at its lowest level in the body and the stimulating hormone cortisol will be at its higher level, causing wakefulness. So here it is very important that you must remember that the natural hormone melatonin is the one which will make an individual feel less alert, and this will lead him to sleep. And with the beginning of a daylight, the melatonin will be at its lowest level, and here the stimulating hormone cortisol causing that particular individual to be awake. And moving on to the next, which is the circadian rhythm. So this circadian is derived from a Latin word circa, which means approximately, and dian, which means about a day. This circadian rhythm is a sort of 24 hours internal biological clock. So in order to get a good understanding of what biological clock is, it is important that we must first know what do we mean by biological rhythm. This biological rhythm is any behavioral activities which occurs at a regular interval of time. So here, this biological clock is the one which will be built in or innate and will work in order to maintain this biological rhythm. So here in this topic, we are talking about the sleep and wake cycle. This biological rhythm also exists in plants, animals, as well as human beings. For example, in plants, it is the closing and the opening of the stoma, and in animals, it is the sleep and wake cycle. So this is a 24-hour cycle which will be happening to us in accordance with the nature. In humans, this circadian rhythm is controlled within the body and synchronized with the environmental factors such as light and darkness. So here what will be happening is that first there will be an activation of the preoptic area, and once this area is being activated, the sleep promoting neuron project to the wake promoting neuron and inhibits them. And this inhibition of the wake promoting neuron will work on other sleep promoting neuron and thus activate them, which will then result in intensifying of the sleeping process. So this is about the circadian rhythm. Now moving on to the next, that is the type of sleep. Here sleep is of two types. The first one is the NREM, which is the non-rapid eye movement, and the second one is the REM, which is the rapid eye movement. So talking about the non-rapid eye movement, this NREM is associated with the REM, that is the rapid eye movement. In this, the sleep progresses through 4 cycles for a typical 90-minute sleep cycle. This accounts up to 70 to 80% of sleep time. And also it is in this NREM that less vivid dreaming occurs. So as I've said that this NREM is associated with REM. It accounts 70 to 80% of sleep time, as well as it is in this stage that less vivid dreaming occurs. The sleeper in this stage will progress 4 stages for typical 90-minute sleep cycle. And these 4 stages consist of transition to sleep, light sleep, deep sleep, as well as more intense deep sleep. So let us discuss about each of these stages in detail. The first stage, which is the transition to sleep, what happens in this stage is that the sleeper will be in a light sleep and can easily be awakened. And here the body of that particular person will be relaxed, as well as his breathing will be regular and deep. The eyelids will start slowly opening and closing. They will become heavy, and suddenly, without notice, the person will fall asleep. However, any sensory stimuli such as noise can easily arouse that particular person from sleep, because as I have said that this is a stage where the person will be in a very light sleep. So any sensory stimuli can easily arouse that particular person. However, even if that person awakes or arouses from that, daydreaming can easily occur. However, this stage only lasts for 5 to 10 minutes, and it also only accounts 5% of the total sleep. So this is about the first stage, that is the transition to sleep. Now moving on to the second stage, which is the light sleep. So what happens here is that the brain activities will become slow. There will be loss of slow rolling eye movement. The relaxation will progress. However, the arousal of that particular person is relatively easy, and also the blood process of that particular person slows down. And this light sleep is also the first stage of deep sleep, which usually lasts for 10 to 15 minutes, and it also accounts 50% of the total sleep. So this is about the second stage. Now moving on to the third stage, which is the deep sleep. So here in this stage, the skeletal muscles will be relaxed, and presence of any sensory stimuli will also not cause that particular individual to become easily aroused, because here in this stage, it will be very difficult to arouse that particular individual since he or she will be in a deep sleep. And even if that particular individual awakes, then he will become disoriented or even confused for some time. When a person is in his deep sleep, then snoring can also occur, and this stage usually lasts for 5 to 15 minutes, and it also accounts 8% of the total sleep. And moving on to the fourth and the last stage, which is the more intense deep sleep. So here, when a person is in this stage, he will be having the deepest sleep. The brain waves will be very slow. It will be very difficult to arouse that particular individual. The body, mind, as well as the muscles will be relaxed. The vital signs will be decreased. And when a person is in this stage of his sleep, then also sleepwalking and enuresis, which is bed wetting, can sometimes occur. However, this stage of sleep is very important for protein synthesis, for cell division, as well as for renewal of the tissues. This stage also lasts for 20 to 50 minutes, and it accounts 11% of the total sleep. So these are the four stages of sleep. That is, whenever any person tries to go to sleep, first he will pass through the first stage, which is the transition to sleep, then to light sleep, to deep sleep, and then to the fourth stage, which is the more intense deep sleep. However, it is very important for us to know that the amount of time which is spent in each and every stage will vary over the lifespan. Because here the newborn and children will spend more of the time in the third stage, which is the deep sleep, whereas aging persons spend more time in the second stage, which is the light sleep. And also here, shift to light sleep or wakefulness can occur suddenly, whereas shift to deep sleep tend to be gradual. So this is about the first type of sleep, that is the NREM, non-rapid eye movement sleep. Now moving on to the second one, which is the rapid eye movement sleep. In this type of sleep, the person will be making a rapid movement with his eyes in spite of the fact that he or she is sleeping. This is also a sleep which is known as the paradoxical sleep. What happens in this sleep is that after 70 to 90 minutes of sleep, the client will then be entering in the REM sleep. And here, the brain wave of those person will be resembling those of a person who is fully awake. In this stage, the brain also becomes highly active, and also here the vital signs of a person will increase, whereas the muscle activity and the deep tendon reflex will be depressed. It is also in this stage that there will be a loss of the skeletal muscle tone. So this is about the rapid eye movement sleep. Now moving on to the sleep cycle. This sleep cycle refers to the sequence of sleep that begins with the 4 stages of NREM, which is the non-rapid eye movement sleep in order. The person will first return from the fourth to the third stage and then to the second stage and then passage into the first stage of the REM sleep. This cycle is repeated at an interval of 90 minutes throughout the 8 hours or so of a night's sleep. Therefore, there are 4 to 6 sleep cycles per night and 4 to 6 REM periods per night. So this is the sleeping cycle where the person will be going through a sequence of sleep which begins with the 4 stages of the NREM sleep, where that particular person will be going from the fourth to the third, then to the second, and then passage into the first REM sleep. So I hope you have got a clear understanding of the sleep cycle. So now here we have come to the end of this topic, where in today's session we have discussed about rest and sleep. We've discussed about the physiology of sleep, the circadian rhythm, the 2 types of sleep, which is the non-rapid eye movement sleep along with its 4 stages, as well as the rapid eye movement sleep. And at the end, we've also discussed about the sleep cycle. So I hope you have got a clear insight of this topic. I'll be meeting you in another session. Until then, have a good day. Thank you.